Hey everybody, happy Monday, happy Monday. It is, and on today's Act 3 program, I have a couple of really special guests for you. Todd Jones and Jocelyn Matwe are with us from Shaw Spotlight, and we're going to learn all about what it's like to be a community producer, aren't we? Hey you guys, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great,
Wonderful,
thank you.
thanks. Hey Todd, how are you?
Doing fantastic. Thank you very much, Kathy.
Well, thanks for joining us on CHLY 101.7 today. I know, media is media, but it's interesting how we can work together in community to share information. And I've had the privilege of working with Shaw for a very long time and love working with you guys. You guys are absolutely inspirational to me. And you teach me so much every day that I figured it would be a good idea to teach the community. So, how about you share with us, Todd? I'll let you go first. How would you like to share with us what exactly do you do at Shaw?
Whoa, that's a loaded question,
Isn't
isn't it,
that
Kathy?
right?
Well, there's many things that Jocelyn and I do. What my main role is I have to work with the volunteers. We have a volunteer program that we try to um, train, teach the aspects of making television. And so we had that. That's one kind of a pillar that we do. We also do something called like a community outreach, where we try to reach out to community members who have content they might want to have on TV, and we help trying to help them get their content on TV. And also, too, another thing we do is we actually work on our basically staff-driven features, so mini documentaries that we do that we don't have to work with the community. So it's something that we do, a story that we want to do, or some great character-driven story of some amazing person in this our area, and we kind of do that kind of story. And we make it into like a 2 to 5 minute little feature, very cinematic, very movie-like. So that's what we do.
Well, what you do is award winning, right? At the end of the day, especially you, Todd, I know Jocelyn, you've won the awards too, but Todd's name ends up on them. And we all know that you're the one who's done all the crazy work behind it.
I've been very fortunate with that people seem to have liked the content I've worked on over the past. Actually, I just celebrated my 25th anniversary working for now Shaw Spotlight, but formerly Shaw TV. So it hit a kind of milestone. I've done a lot of content in that time, and I've been very fortunate to be have some awards given to some of the work I've done.
That's
He's
incredible.
so, he's so shy.
He is. He's so
He's
shy.
so humble.
He's so humble. And 25 years is a heck of a milestone, particularly in media. I mean, with the turn, actually, in most jobs, people turn over so quickly. And so to have a long-standing career, congratulations on 25 fantastic years with Shaw.
Well, thank you.
Jocelyn, tell us a little bit about your role. It's a little different than Todd's, but it's very complimentary, isn't it?
Yeah, well, pretty much the exact same. I have same responsibilities with Todd. The only difference is I do a lot more. I wouldn't say maintenance, but maintenance of the channel. So I schedule content that goes on channel 4. I do a lot of admin work sometimes, but it's all
She
it's all valuable.
she
Hey, it
just
takes a lot to put something together. Let's be
Yeah.
fair.
I just want to say, I wanted to interject. She's the hero. She's
I
the
know,
true hero of what we do here in Nanaimo. If it wasn't for
I know.
Joss and what she does, we would just crate her.
She's
She
So
does
just
true.
happy that I do the spreadsheets and stuff.
she does everything that causes me anxiety and stress, and she just does it so well. And not to mention, she does everything I do too, plus this. So she is our pillar that holds us up and keeps us going. So I just want to say we could not do anything without Jocelyn.
Well, I couldn't
Thanks, Todd.
agree with you more. I know for a fact, in working with you, with the show on Shaw, with a few other productions that we've done over the years, that you indeed are, the glowing, marvelous support
Oh
of
wow.
everything that goes on there. And not to mention that you're also an incredible teacher when it comes to working with stuff. So, I mean,
Thank you.
I have learned how to do so much because of you. My gratitude is beyond compare.
Thank
I
you.
know that all of our volunteers certainly feel the same way.
Yeah.
But things are a lot different right now. Let's face it. COVID-19 has come along and whacked us all upside the head. We're not able to produce television the way that we're familiar with producing, and not to mention just television, but radio, everything. This is a Zoom conversation. So, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're enjoying the program and you're hearing barking going on in the backyard, or the mailman comes by and drops off my latest Amazon order, do not be alarmed. It is all okay. It's part of the Zoom experience, and that's how we're doing television and radio now. What
Totally.
kind of challenges, Jocelyn, have you really noticed in having to produce in this format?
Well, we are sticklers for perfection. I won't lie. Definitely type A personality. So to have to step back and do productions from home, utilizing Skype and the joys of good and bad connections, good audio, bad audio, you kind of just have to take your expectations down, work with the pieces that you have, and try and create a product that is just as good for air. And it's good to see that other broadcasters have to do the same. So we're not the only ones. It's definitely been a learning curve. Some of the software that we've had to use and had to lean on, so Skype and Zoom and all those other programs.
OBS.
Go ahead.
OBS.
Oh, OBS. Yes.
I thought you were saying OBS for a second. We have to just clarify, this is a public broadcast. No profanity on this channel.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's software called OBS is what basically it's software you can use where basically you take your Skype feeds and you can actually record each person individually using this OBS. And so from there, we take it to the edit bay where we can edit it and try to make it look like one of our studio live shows. It's not live, but we could try to make it look like it's very similar to what we used to do in the studio.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I find for myself, I was just starting to learn how to use Premiere Pro. And of course, I always hear you two echoing in my ear. Even now, as we're talking, I realize I have too much headroom between us. For those who are listening and you're not seeing this, you have no idea. But if you're watching this on another format, that being YouTube or what have you, you'll see that, I've got perfection here with my wonderful supporters in Jocelyn and what's his face?
Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
But that's a very close second. I've been called worse.
Definitely. Like back to that, what I was saying, it's been a challenge, a good challenge. When we first started working from home in March, the first couple of weeks, almost a month, we were kind of like, what do we do? Because we can't go out into the community to do interviews. We can't have the community come into our studio for interviews. So I felt a little bit of grief at one point going, I'm lost. But, some of our counterparts across Canada started playing around with the Skype and OBS software, and everybody just tried to just do something new. And we kind of fell into this rhythm of, okay, we can't be out in the community and we can't have the community come to us. So how can we best support our community working from home, either through Skype or, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit more later on, working with people in the community who are creating content and facilitating that content to then be broadcasted on Channel 4.
Yeah, in the beginning, there was lots of trial and error. Like Jocelyn was saying, like there's a little bit of moment going, how do we do it? So there's a lot of brainstorming. Can we do this? We thought about trying, remember, we actually thought about bringing back a popular show we did called Clocked. We'd do it clocked virtually or clocked from home, but it was too complex. It just never got off the ground. So again, others, like Jocelyn said, other things came up, OBS, using Skype. And so we're able to factor in and try and recreate our studio shows from home. It's been a challenge, but
well, and I would imagine that not only is it a challenge in trying to create something that an audience will want to gravitate towards over and over. And again, keeping the volunteers that you had before engaged has got to be a bit more difficult when you don't have, the regular evening that you go and you shoot the show and you know what I mean? So how are you engaging with volunteers at this time?
Do you want to take that, Jocelyn, or want me to go with that?
I'll start and you chime in.
Okay, good.
Well, it's challenging. So we have volunteers that have a variety of skill sets. So we have people who host shows, people who love to use the camera, people who love audio. And so unfortunately at this time, we can't support the technical aspect in the same fashion when we were working within studio. So we have our hosts transitioning over to the virtual productions like Coast Connections and the show, where they work with Todd and myself virtually. And then there are some of our volunteers who have the ability to film and edit their own little segments, and then they could submit those to us and we can put it on air. We also have capabilities to, let's say, Kathy, you get a new camera, but you don't really know how to use it. We can jump on Zoom or Skype and go over the settings and functions with you and give you some tools and tips on how to go out and record. And then if you create something, you can submit it to us and we will give you feedback on how to make it better, or etc. So the support is still there. It's just transitioned more to the virtual setting. We can't go out and meet with people still. Of course, being cognizant of our provincial regulations, but we still want to be able to help people. So either, phone calls or Skype calls or emails. It's kind of how we're trying to make best of the situation.
Well, what it means is that people realize, I think, how much they valued and appreciated a program. And then now for it to be suspended or altered or changed temporarily, we know that this is temporary. We know that eventually we'll all get back in the studio and all be able to do some wonderful things, but that's going to be a while now. We know that, the second and the third wave are coming. And so that transition period is really taking its toll. And I'm wondering how, at least in your experience, have you had any feedback from the kind of programming that's out there that you've done now on Spotlight to sort of help encourage people to, not be zoomed out or not be, there comes to a place where we get a little fatigued in watching shows that are very similar over and over again. And that's just because the style of them warrants that right now. How do you feel about that?
Todd, do you want to talk about like the mini ideas and the feature ideas?
Sure, let's do that. So I know for us, we're going toward what the staff directed kind of content we have to produce is that, like, right now going to people's homes, especially on Vancouver Island, it's challenging because it rains all the time.
Yeah.
Places that snow, they're okay. You can shoot in the snow. It's okay. Yes, it's cold, but raining, it just all gathers on the lens. So it just doesn't really work so well. And water has a really bad effect on equipment opposed to snow.
Yeah,
so,
no doubt.
So those are the challenges we have. So for us, usually in the wintertime, Jocelyn and I are spending a lot going to people's homes indoors, where right now, nobody wants that. We can't do it. People going in homes, we don't want to bring it, so to be safe, we're trying to do everything we can outside. And even then, there's massive protocols we follow just to keep us safe, keep our interview people safe, right? So, before we used to use lav mics, we used to lav people up. Now we don't touch people. We usually set up a big mic stand with a boom mic sitting down. You just have a shot, they walk up to it, right? So doing those type of protocols safe. So doing our big features, our 5-minute features, it's a lot of work. You need to talk to people. And we don't want to do Zoom calls because it's not cinematic, right? So we want to make it look like a movie. So one thing we've been focusing on, instead of doing our big 5-minute ones, we're doing like little 1 minute to 2-minute little we call mini spotlights. And so basically that could be anything, but it tells a story sort of thing. Like, for example, we had one person in Campbell River. It was a massive rainstorm, and he had a shot of all, like, he's around us. He has a farm area, so he's all these shots. And then also the rain starts coming. It's in super slow mo, and he has great sound, right? And the rain's falling, it's coming down. You see water trickling from the eaves troughs, all this sort of stuff. And then it ends with it stops raining, the sun comes out and dries out, and you hear a little swing that's kind of blowing in the wind. And you start hearing kids, playing again. So it told a story of rain coming. And so we can be really artistic. We don't have to talk to people now. We can actually just tell a story visually, use sound, stuff like that. So that's what we're trying to focus on now. Like, I know Jocelyn's working on one. There's totem poles at Bowen Park that fell down, and so they've been they got old, and so they're lying down now. So she's doing a little mini on these totem poles sort of thing.
I did one. It allows us as producers to keep on our skills, not, sitting at the desk doing Zoom calls all the time, right? For Todd, he can get outside and he can do something super creative, or if we've got a new lens, he can try something new while still creating a short form product that we can put on the channel and be proud of as well.
Yeah.
Well, I love the creativity piece, right? The ability to do things that are, like you said, outside. It's filmed a little bit differently, but there's some really wonderful gems out there. And community can very much get involved in that. At one time, the community would call Shaw and say, hey, listen, we really would like it if you could tell us about, or tell the community that we're having a fundraiser, or we're having this drive or that drive. And this Christmas was a wild time because so many people weren't able to really share the information or do the festivities that they're accustomed to doing. How do you find the community connection now and the ability to transfer that information? Is that still able to happen in a way that is helpful for community, or are you seeing a full drawback from that?
No, absolutely. Thank you for bringing up, because one thing I do want to reiterate is that over the last little while, we transitioned away from being called Shaw TV Nanaimo, and we're called Shaw Spotlight Nanaimo. And within that transition, our contact information has changed. So our old address, nanaimo.tv@shaw.ca, is no longer active. And that was sort of the catch-all for all of our event notices and press releases and things. So that's no longer active, but we do have a replacement called Shaw Spotlight Nanaimo at sjrb.ca. So please send us.
Okay, so that's a
Yeah.
great segue.
Yes.
For those listeners that have just tuned in, thank you for tuning in to Act3 on CHLY 101.7. Our guests from Shaw Spotlight, Todd Jones and Jocelyn Matwe. We've got lots more to share with you, but now is the time in the program where I suggest you go grab a piece of paper and a pen, because you're going to want to grab their contact information. You're going to want to share it. You're going to want to use it. You're going to want to call it. So go get that pen and paper while we continue on with our interview and our conversation. So Jocelyn, how has that been for you then in wanting to be able to support community differently? How can community now get involved with Shaw Spotlight and still have the deliverables that we need to have for community access?
Totally. So first step, email us. If you're not sure, send us an email. And especially right now, working from home, email is better than phone. So I'll shout out our email address again. So Shaw Spotlight Nanaimo at sjrb.ca.
So slow that down. sjrb.ca. It's really weird, and everybody says, "What's that mean?" It's sjrb.ca.
So event notices, press releases, inquiries about participating in one of our access productions. That is our best point of contact. So people can reach out that way. Another way, people can send us content. So let's say, for example, we have a partnership with the city of Nanaimo, and their communications person creates content that goes up on their Facebook page or their website or YouTube. Now, it's only Todd and I here in Nanaimo, and our responsibilities are from salt air to Bowser. And that's that's a little challenging sometimes. So if we have these amazing people in our communities, not necessarily just municipalities, but if they create content that is important enough to share with that broadcast range or with those communities within that broadcast range, they can submit the content to us. We'll vet it to make sure that it's applicable. It doesn't have copyright pieces within it. And then we can get it up on the channel within a couple of hours. So when COVID really started shaking things up, we had Mayor Leonard Krogh do some updates. The city of Nanaimo would send those to us. We'd put them on air. Same with Island Health. We would get a lot of videos from Dr. Stanwyck just on protocols and things. So we would get those and we would share it with the rest of the island as well. So that's huge. So if there's anybody out there who has content that they want to share, it doesn't have to necessarily be political. It can be very creative, like music videos or photo montages. It can be somebody, a local filmmaker who's making short form content. Or another example would be Nanaimo Food Share. They transitioned over to a virtual cooking class and a virtual gardening class earlier this summer. And we saw it and we said, hey, this is perfect. We have a slot on our 24-hour clock. Would you be interested in sharing this half-hour series with us? So we help promote other organizations through Channel 4. So I hope that answers your question. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but basically if there's people in the community who are creating content that would love another avenue to share it with people, please get in touch with us, because not only can we share it in Nanaimo, we can go to Nanaimo Parksville or island-wide too, which is a great opportunity.
And it could be anything, right? Like so like we, for example, we had a grandmother who has twin grandsons, and they're going for a walk down Cable Bay Trail, and she just filmed her grandsons interacting with the trail. She cut it to music. She put it up on Facebook, and we said, I know the person. I said, hey, can you please submit that? Would you like to submit that to our channel? And they said yes. So they submitted. So just two cute kids are they're talking back and forth on the dinosaurs and the river, and they're hooting at the owls that are they're hung up on the trees. Right? If you haven't been to Cable Bay Trail, it's really kind of cool. So it's just really kind of, but that's something that's perfect for us, right? It's just something like a little filler. It's amusing watching these two cute kids walking through the forest, doing their thing. We have other submissions all the time from people, just could be vloggers, could be just people doing something with their cell phone, right? We like everybody has a cell phone. Cell phones can shoot video quite easily. One thing we do ask is if you're going to make it for us, shoot it horizontally. That's holding the camera so it's like the size of a TV, your TV screen. It's horizontal. Most people, when they're shooting videos nowadays, they shoot for Instagram, like up, straight up and down, which is called vertical. That doesn't really look good on TV. So we're asking people to make sure they shoot horizontally. You're on mute.
Oops.
Radio announcer on mute. And that's because my Jack Russell Kevin decided that she wanted to ring the bell and say it's almost at the time of the taping here, and at the time that you're listening, it's lunchtime for the dogs. And so Kevin and Bobby Wilson remind me that even though I've already given them a cookie, they want another one, or they want something better. Anyway, long story short, there goes the bell again. No worries there. It's a good thing that you talked about the camera and the positioning of the camera, because I heard somebody say, and I don't know if it might have been you, Todd, or you, Jocelyn, in recent days, I'm not sure, but I heard somebody say they don't actually take their television and turn their television actually horizontally or
Yeah.
turn it vertically. And I just howled. I thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard, because I could imagine, television watchers like picking up these 75-inch, screen televisions. And anyway, too funny words in my mind. So yes, and I think the good news is that everybody has the ability now to create video, and there's some pretty amazing videos available. Do you have any quick tips actually for our listeners to maybe, if they do want to shoot a video that they wanted to perhaps throw your way to see whether or not it might be an option for them to consider doing video production or participating with CHLY? What are some tips that they might choose?
I'll set it up and Todd, you can finish it. So a good example of what somebody could film is, I know even though events are kind of not happening right now, what we do encourage people is if they want us to share their content or their event listing, and not specifically to the community calendar, so like the text, that they're more than welcome to record themselves promoting their event. Same thing, with your phone, horizontal. The most important thing really is audio. So if you're going to use your phone, you need to have it close enough to your face that you can hear it, but you don't want to have the video like, in your eyes and your nose and some weird aspect ratio, but we want clear audio and good visual. So it doesn't have to have a ton of, we call B-roll, extra footage on it. It could just be a person to the camera saying, hey, I'm Jimmy Joe. We're having canned food drive for the local food bank at this day, this time,
Wonderful idea. Great.
Todd? And just for, like Jocelyn's saying, for audio, the big thing is, if it's really windy, you want to try to pick a spot that's not so windy, because the mics and phones aren't really covered with windsock, so it causes a lot of wind. Again, Jocelyn's saying, like, arm's length. If you have arm's length, all the cameras have wide angle lenses, so an arm length will be great audio. Sometimes people like to go really far away so they can see the back. You don't want, it's all about people's faces. If it's too wide and the person's really small and fills up 20% of your screen, for one, you won't be able to hear them. It'll be very echoey, like with a lot of reverb. And it's hard to concentrate on what the person's saying when there's so much distractions. You look at anytime you're watching a movie, you're watching TV, they have close-up shots, because the close-up shots, your eyes can't zoom into the person's face when you're watching TV. You see the whole TV screen. So you have to be the eyes. You have to get close. So make sure arm's length is a great distance. That way you can get the head, shoulders, great audio. And like Jocelyn saying, you can just even do a vlog style. You walk around, you're holding like this, and you can show off the background, interacting with your background for your event or whatever it is, right? So like, and they don't have to be long, 30 seconds, 1 minute, we can air those. Absolutely. There's
30,
always
30 minutes and 1 minute, or 30 seconds, pardon me, and 1 minute, 5 minutes. That's actually a long time for video.
It
oh
is.
yes.
It
Average
feels like
attention
forever.
span for people is like 3 to 5 minutes maximum, even with YouTube, right? We all know that the YouTube, I've got a whole YouTube channel, and most of the videos that are up there right now are an hour, because I'm learning how to use Premiere Pro to chop them all up, and they haven't had a chance to be chopped up yet, because we know that the attention span for people, it's really, you got to grab them.
Yeah.
So what constitutes an interesting story?
Wow.
Wow.
Well, almost anything could be an interesting story. You just kind of have to, you gotta dig a little bit. You gotta ask questions. You want to find a hook in a way. So, is it somebody making something in the basement of their house, but by day they're doing a completely different job, but their passion is about cooking or sewing or whatever. So you really want to tell the passion part of the story. You don't really want to go and do an overview like, 10,000 feet looking down. You really want to get to the heart of it, because if you don't get to the heart of it, you're going to lose your audience.
Yeah, it almost brings us back to when we were in school and we had to write an essay, right? You have your hook, you got your topic sentence, and then you got to have that meat. Like, you get the meat in there and you share the story, and you don't hang on to something just for the sake of hanging on to it, because that doesn't always serve. Todd, do you have any tips for our listeners?
Before it comes to telling stories,
Yeah.
well, Jocelyn, it's pretty much that. Like, to me, it's always character driven stuff. It could be a story about anything, but if you find a character and you tell that story, right?
It
And
doesn't have to be a person.
it doesn't have to be a person.
That's
Anything could, like, I can make this little action figure a person, right? Like, and that's the character, and everything revolves around this action figure, right? So, it doesn't really matter. It's hard to really just say in words. It takes a long time to really hone that craft of getting that story out there and getting the development. It's all about development, right? If there's no development, there's no progression. So therefore, what's the point of kind of watching this for thing? I believe you can turn anything into an interesting story. Maybe it's only 30 seconds. Maybe it's a minute. Some take 10 minutes, right, to tell a story.
Yeah.
And so the content drives how long it is, if it's going to be interesting or not. So when it comes to people in the community producing stuff to submit to us, we understand it's a learning process. We're not going to be getting, top end stuff coming in right away, and that's okay. But
sure you will. This is NaNoWriMo.
of course,
it's all top end stuff.
I'm trying to say, our expectations aren't that high. That has to be that high. We provide training and feedback. We have a volunteer who constantly goes out with a camera, does an event, and he'll bring it back to me, and he wants to submit it. So we watch it. I make some suggestions how, like, cutting out repetitive stuff or stuff that doesn't need, because we're always trying to think of our viewers. Like, if it's, again, 7 minutes is hard to schedule. Scheduling something for Jocelyn for 4 minutes, much easier. Right. So again, if it's 7 minutes, but really there's only 3 minutes of content, we help these people. This is where the guidelines, the suggestions or teaching comes in, where we teach them how to tell your story, but cut out the stuff that's not necessary, that makes the video hang and lose interest in, right? So we do that all the time. If somebody wants to submit something, we give feedback, suggestions of how to improve. If not for this one, the next one.
This is the best training I think that I have ever had, has been by being a volunteer at Shaw Spotlight, for a lot of reasons. But that, honing in on a story, that's come from you guys. You're able to really help people to discern what the story is and make it so that it is not only visually interesting, it also is the heartbeat of what's intended, right? And that's what I'm really thrilled about. But it also makes me curious because, 25-year vet and doing this, Jocelyn, I'm not sure how long you've been there, but I know
15.
it's 15. So 15 years, long time.
Funny story too. Me and Jocelyn graduated from the same college, same program, 10 years different. And I am here for 25 years. She's here for 15.
And we didn't know each other.
We didn't know each other at all. Yeah. Like, actually, at first, this is the honest truth. She first sent us a resume to come in as a practicum, right? And so it said Jocelyn Matwe. I went, and so my manager at the time said, "Oh, this is a girl. She's done a lot of sports productions." I said, "No, it's not a girl. It's a French person. It's a French guy. Jocelyn's a very common French name. Jocelyn Matwe. Like that's so. It sounds like a hockey player." And then she comes in. Oh, it's definitely a girl.
Oh
we
my
had
goodness,
no.
that's a hoot. That's a
So,
hoot.
Yeah.
You know, that longevity to me is just exceptional. I think I've been, a volunteer now for 4 or 5 years as
Yeah.
well, and plan on continuing in the most capacity I can. And I'm working on more projects. As you know, I'm going to say it, Act3, everybody knows it's coming. I say it all the time on this program. It's a work in progress, and we're still moving forward with it. But I think what is interesting to me is the kinds of stories that you've run over these many years. Have there been, for either of you, it's a loaded question, I know, and favoritism is a hard thing to do, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Are there particular stories that have really stuck out for you in the last few years?
Ooh, like
Ooh,
our own stories or productions we've worked on,
like
or
either, whichever
oh,
stands out for you, that like makes you go boom.
there's been a lot of highlights recently that me and Jocelyn worked on. I know one of my favorite ones is a guy called the feature's called Building Breens, about a guy named Greg Breen who was hit with MS
Mhm.
a few years ago, and he was he's a builder. He just built things. He went to ski lodges and he just built anything they need to be building, and then come to the point where he gets diagnosed with this disease and he just couldn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And so for therapy, he's basically started making movie props, and mostly science fiction movie props. And so like he's a big fan of Star Wars, so he made Star Wars stuff. And so I'm a huge Star Wars fan and science
Yes,
fiction
you
fan. So
are.
it was a pretty cool thing to see what this guy makes from just he looks at junk and he makes a Star Wars blaster, right? It's like, whoa, this is pretty cool. So and just how you can see the physical strain it is on him to do what he does, but the fact that he just keeps doing it at such a high level, it was just kind of a very inspirational story. This guy just doing what he loves to do and just to keep going. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is very, very cool. And I love the fact that you're a Star Wars guy and an action figure guy. This is
I
very
like my
cool.
stuff.
I know you do. You like it.
My wife says I have a problem now because I'm starting to collect toys all the time now. I'm like hooked on all these. You can see these toys behind me here, and I'm just hooked on the action figures right now. I don't know why. I just am.
Well, this is this we get to explore things. I mean, they give you ideas. It's something that makes us feel good. Go for it. Rock on. Jocelyn, how about you?
Yeah.
Tell
What
me
about
about
Jocelyn?
oh my goodness,
your
like,
hot
there's
spot.
so many.
I know there are.
I mean, well, Todd and I did quite a few pieces together. One that I think that really like stuck in my brain on like not necessarily environmentalism, but we were fortunate enough to cover, I guess, lack of a better word, an ocean cleanup
Yes.
a year and a half ago down in the harbor. A whole bunch of organizations came together. Then I'm a harbor authority and local dive shops and VIU. And they cleaned out a section of the harbor front by the walkway. Just, over time, things fall out of boats, garbage, all that. And so we were told that, on occasion they may pull out a shopping cart, and we're like, oh my God, that's crazy. Like, why would somebody put a shopping cart in the water? Well, I kid you not. That was like the most thing they pulled out of that section of the water.
15, 20 of them. Yeah, it was
And
ridiculous.
ones that have been down there for years, and they had like barnacles and like
Sponges and
like, oh my God, they were just covered. And it was just heartbreaking because now they're pulling these things out that beings have been living on, that they shouldn't be living on, and throwing them in the garbage, and they're dying. And I'm sitting here like almost in tears. Like, I was just gobsmacked. But at the same time, I was thankful because unless you were walking by along the waterfront, seeing people pull this stuff out, you don't know. So the fact that we were able to get underwater footage, one of the local dive shops got it for us, and we did the interviews, we put this piece together and we shared it. And on social media, like it goes, if it's good or bad, you get a lot of comments. But I felt like it was a really good piece to show your awareness that, yeah, we live in an amazing space here on Vancouver Island. We're so lucky to be part, have the ocean out there, but we really need to be paying attention to what we're doing. And so I think that was one definitely that like got me like thinking about, all the things that I should or should not be doing, or, paying attention to. And I think the other one, I know Todd's probably gonna, well, he'd bring it up if I didn't bring it up anyway, but the other one that we did was about this local seamstress who.
That's the one. I was gonna say that too.
That's the one for me too.
Yeah. This one pulls on the heartstrings too.
So much.
So
much.
she takes garments from individuals who either have passed, who may be passing away, could be grandparents, mother, father, siblings, newborn babies, which is that, I think that really got all of us. And she creates these beautiful memory bears out of these articles of clothing. And this one, so back to like, how do you tell a good story? When we do stories, we need to make sure if we focus on a business, that it's not a glorified commercial for this business.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how do you tell the story of this person who does this amazing feat to bring solace and comfort to people in a time of grief? It was a challenge, but we managed. We attacked. I shouldn't say attacked it, but we focused it on it from the way of telling. The character is the bear, and the bear is the person who unfortunately had passed away. And so we go through the process of the family member learning the story of the person who died, how much they meant to their family. Then we meet the seamstress, the family and the seamstress interact. We get the pieces of clothing. It gets sketched out and cut up in pieces, and the bear is then formed in this likeness of the person who's no longer with us. And then we were able to be there when the bear was presented back to the family. And so, there's a point in time where we both had two cameras going, and you could hear a pin drop in the room, but you could see the joy that came from this sad part in somebody's life. So that was one of our I think most touching pieces in a long time. And a slight digression is we also had some technical issues. We almost lost all the footage on that story too. So,
I remember. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was a stressful day. It was the day after, and all the stuff we could not recreate again. It got wiped off a hard drive.
But we managed to get it all back, and we told this story. Was like it was just a good humanity story. And I want to be able to do that all the time, but at the same time, you need a break. You need like the fun, Star Wars stories, and you need the environmental stories. So I think one of the things that I do love about what we do is such a variety of things. So like to reiterate, we have the volunteer program, we have our community access program. Todd and I get out and shoot our own little pieces. So it's a lot of different things. If somebody asks us what Shaw Spotlight is, it's a really hard way to narrow it down to one sentence, but we love our community. We love supporting the community. And everybody's story is different. Even though someone can present us a story idea that we did maybe a year and a half ago, we'll still be able to find a different angle and tell an amazing story because of it. So.
Absolutely. And I think that we've done that on several different modalities of the programs that are offered on Shaw. I think,
can I say one more thing there, Kathy? One thing, Jocelyn, tell them stories. Please. Another thing we love to do, like I said, I really love working with volunteers and training volunteers. And when you see a volunteer come from the beginning, not knowing anything, to succeeding and doing something that's just really impactful. Like Kathy, you're a great shining example. One of our big successes. Like, not that you came in green, because you came with a lot of talent already. You have a great personality. But seeing what you do now is not just watching you perform here on this radio show. It's fantastic. But for those are big wins for Jocelyn and I. And we see people on camera or behind the scenes editing, whatever it is, and then they do really well. It's a big win and it feels good. And like I'm a big fan of passing on information, teaching. Somebody taught me. I want to make sure I'm a positive example and teach somebody else, because I know how much joy I get of doing what I do and telling somebody's story, right? And if I can help other people tell stories that touch other people, If I can tell a story that makes people laugh or smile, I've affected them emotionally that day. Or if somebody watches Kayla's Bear, the little bear story, that, and somebody cries, you've touched that person emotionally, right? And that feeling is so good. And if you can help other people get there too, it's such a great feeling. It's a good win. So that's one thing I love to do, is work with volunteers and train volunteers. Even though what we do is so different now with COVID, we still try and find a way where we can teach and instruct and help people improve upon the skills they want to help tell better stories.
And just to add to that, like every year we would host an open house where we would invite people from the community into the studio where they could learn more about the volunteer program and our community access. And unfortunately, with COVID, we're not able to do that. So to be able to do this here with you, Kathy, is awesome.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure.
Yeah, and B, even though we don't have our traditional volunteer program, we still accept volunteers. Now, when people do email us and reach out saying, what can I do? There's not much we can provide to them at this time. But like we said, like if somebody has skills on being able to film something, like they can go out, attempt to try something. If they're not that comfortable with it, we can give them feedback. We can do virtual workshops, that kind of thing. Hosts, we can work with somebody if, let's say, they wanted to create a show idea. Well, we would kind of walk them through the process of pitching the show idea, and even in COVID, how could we best support this person, or is this something that we'd have to wait till when we're back in the studio? So everything is kind of open at this point, with an asterisk. But
you have to
ask us.
Calls, but the options and the availability is there.
Yes.
If you have just tuned in, you've tuned into Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM. Thank you so much for joining us today in the Zoom booth we have. I know it's odd, right? There'll be a time when we go back into studio, whether it's the Shaw studio or the CHLY studio, we'll be back eventually. But until then, let's continue our conversation with Todd Jones and Jocelyn Matwe from Shaw Spotlight. Just a little bit ago, we told people to go get a piece of paper, and yep, we have given the phone number, or we have given, pardon me, not the phone number yet, but we have given the email address. I'd like our listeners to have another chance to get that information. Can you share the email and the contact information, please?
For sure. So best way to contact us right now is through email. And I'll say it slow for Todd too.
And repeat it twice.
That's right. So it's Shaw Spotlight Nanaimo at sjrb.ca. I don't know if people can read that.
But it's backwards, right? Oh, well, it's not.
For the YouTube station, no problem. But for radio, we still have to tell them.
So Shaw Spotlight Nanaimo at sjrb.ca. You can call us. You just won't get someone directly. So our phone number is 250-760-1974. You can also check us out online. So our website is shawspotlight.ca. You'll find us on Facebook, so Shaw Spotlight, or at Shaw Spotlight. We're on Instagram and Twitter as well. But just so you know, this is a national account, so it's not local to Nanaimo. So your best bet to reach out to us is definitely email. I don't know, maybe Kathy in the YouTube, you can put the stuff in the description as well. And and all of our content is on YouTube. Now, this is where it kind of gets confusing. So we did talk about community access, and we talked about staff produced stuff. So to see the content that our staff creates, there is a Shaw Spotlight YouTube account. So you'll see Todd's Building Greens, you'll see Kayla's Bear, you'll see the Helping the Emerald Sea features, and plus tons from basically Vancouver Island all the way to
Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah,
Sault Ste. Marie is farthest east, yeah.
Yeah, so many stations across Canada. And then we've got another YouTube account which focuses more on our community access. So these are programs that we work with people in the community. So Act 3 will be on there when we're working on it.
When we're there.
We've got the show, Coast Connections. And so that's called Shaw Community Link. A little bit different, but it's sort of the same thing. So this is where you can see tons of amazing access content from across Canada. Again, national account, we're all sharing, but there's some really cool stuff, and it's really neat to see, like, somebody's doing something here on Vancouver Island, but maybe in Kenora, someone's doing the exact same thing, right? And with their volunteers, their access producers. So it's really cool. So yeah, so Shaw Spotlight is the staff-driven features and minis, and Shaw Community Access is how we support people in our community, not only right now during COVID, but back, when we're in the studio. So.
And I believe that, Jocelyn, the community link is also sectioned in regions. You can search regions. So you can search Nanaimo, or is it Central Island or is it Nanaimo?
It would be Vancouver Island.
Vancouver Island. So yeah, so you can search in sections. So you can, if you want to look for more local content, you can easily search that out too.
Yeah.
So when, people can find you, they can also find you on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
How is Facebook? I mean, that's also separated. I'm sorry, that's probably what you just said, and I kind of lost myself there, because
Sure.
between Facebook and YouTube and all the different emails and all the different things that are available for all kinds of productions, regarding businesses and such, it gets a little confusing at the end of the day. The easiest way to find you, though,
Email
is
us.
to
Shaw
email
Spotlight Nanaimo at sjrb.ca. Those inquiries will come directly to me.
you.
And yay,
Jocelyn.
me.
See, that's one of the things
I'll-
that, one of the tasks that Jocelyn does so well that I don't have to worry about, is she takes care of all that stuff.
And then we can assist from there. So if it's an inquiry for volunteer or show production or event listing, that kind of thing. So email us for sure. If you want to see the cool stuff that we're doing in a timely fashion, definitely check us out on Facebook, Shaw Spotlight. But you'll see all of our content. So not just from here in Nanaimo, but all across Canada. Lots of really great content coming from our staff out there.
There's some wonderful stuff if you take the
really
time
great
to watch. And currently you can still go to Shaw Cable 4, Shaw further down island is Shaw 120. I'm not sure what the other stations
Let me,
are on,
I'll get all that sorted out for you.
Yay!
So if you are a basic Shaw Cable subscriber, we are on channel 4, and that's island wide. If you subscribe to Shaw Blue Curve TV, we are channel 105. Yeah.
So channel 120 was just a hotel thing that I experienced.
Yeah, probably.
Yes.
We can't find us on Shaw Direct. There's no dedicated channel for Shaw Spotlight, but we do have content across Canada that we're submitting. So channel 4 for basic Shaw Cable, channel 105 for Shaw Blue Curve, and then YouTube and Facebook and all those places.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys both so very, very much. It's been a privilege to have you on the show. As we start gearing towards the close of the program, there is something that we always do here on Act 3. And that is I like for our listeners to have a takeaway, right? So it's a teachable moment, Todd. It's that moment that we get to imbibe the wisdom of what it is that we do and why we do it. So I invite you both to share your insights to that. Todd, do you want to go first? No, right? I did not throw you under the, this is just there's so much there.
Wow. Like, so insights about what again? Sorry, you want to just like about
25
everything?
25 years in being
25 years.
Okay,
I do this.
Your, takeaway?
There's one thing. This is something I do for sometimes when you're doing live TV. People get nervous. They jump on camera, and as soon as that red light comes on, when the red light comes on your camera means you're on. People, you've done some camera for us, Kathy. So usually they tense up. Oh no, I'm on the air. I don't want to screw up. And so sometimes before every live production, whether it's sports, say Jocelyn's been with me. She's like my right-hand man, or woman, sorry. And like I can't do anything without Jocelyn. Like, she helps make everything so much better. So when we go into sports productions, we go into our telethons, we go into anything. She's always, we're 1 and 2. Like we're like we work so well together. Like 15 years together working, we've never had a disagreement or argument.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Or we've never verbally got mad at each other or upset with each other or say you're an idiot. Mostly if someone's gonna call somebody an idiot, she'd be calling me an idiot, but she hasn't. So it's been a great relationship. So we work together all the time. And there's one thing I do before every production, and Kathy, you may have heard this, but I always say, all right, guys, don't suck. that's and it usually gets everybody to kind of laugh and sort of thing, because I do it with a smile. I'm never like, Murr. And so that's one thing that's my big thing I like to do before productions. And when I do my documentary stuff, it's like, okay, this is do one more take, go big, right? Wow me. I say, wow me. So those are my 2 things I say, and I try to take to everything I do. Whatever I try and do, I want to wow the audience. So I try and do the best. I put so much emotion to anything I do. and so much energy into anything I do. And I really truly want it to be the best. I'm constantly learning. And but I always try and think, how can I do this so it can be entertaining for the audience and also get some information from it too. So that's my approach. I like to try and do. And the biggest thing is I try not to suck doing it. That's a big thing. I want to be as good as I possibly can be, and always try to evolve and learn. So that's the one thing. Maybe it's not exactly what you wanted, but that's
Hey,
what
no,
my
it's
go-to
exactly
thing
what
for.
I wanted. It's perfect. I'm imagining people driving down the road during their lunchtime being told that they don't want to suck. They'll go into the washroom and not want to
That's just
suck.
it.
It's
I do it
it's a
every
total
production.
teachable moment.
25 years, every production, right before it starts, like you literally, okay, guys, 30 seconds, okay, guys, don't suck. that's all I can say, and everybody laughs usually. So, yeah.
That's a hoot. Thank you, Todd. Jocelyn, it's your up.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go to the great lengths saying don't suck, but wow. Yeah, thinking back, okay, so 15 years, when I first started, I came into this just being an editor. Like I couldn't talk to a lot of people. I couldn't get in front of a crowd and talk about, you know, passions and things like that. And one of the things that means the most to me about what we do, we're not necessarily in the forefront. You don't really see Todd and I a lot. Well, specifically Todd anymore. I always play background, right? I'm more comfortable in the background. But what I love is helping not only just volunteers, but our hosts, whoever I'm working with, look, sound amazing, challenge them to do better, you know, help them take one idea and amplify it to just make it something, like Todd says, impact somebody. You know, if it's just sending a story idea, but helping the host kind of hone the focus a little bit. Another thing too is we work with a lot of our staff from across the country. So we're not all in the same, you know, technical field sometimes. So we all have to kind of come together and help each other be better. And I really value that, not only for the staff that have helped me, you know, Todd and I are like thick as thieves, right? Like he's left hand, I'm right hand, but even having input from somebody who doesn't live here in the community, watch something that I've done, or them telling me that the Kayla's Bear piece that ran in Red Deer is somebody who contacted that staff person wanting to know more information. And then they reached out to us saying how much of an impact it was. Like, that's amazing too. So even though I tend to kind of be in the background, I do love helping propel people forward and inspiring them and making them better people. So.
Well, you do it in spades. You've certainly, both of you, the entire team at Shaw has made an incredible impact on my life. And
Thanks.
I know the guests that have come in, every single guest is made to feel completely welcome all of the time. When you do teach, both of you, you're both so insightful and helpful and kind beyond measure. And I think that's what makes great television, is you care. And because you care so much, you inspire people to care that much more. Thank you so very much, both of you, for being part of Act 3 today. It's just been a privilege. I know that our audience is all ages, basically. In closing, I just want to get one last thing from you, and that is, again, your contact information for anybody who wants to take down, call, produce something, create something magnificent, and be taught by you two incredible people. How can they reach you one more time?
You bet. So email us at shawspotlightnanaimo@sjrb.ca. You can call our general line. It's 250-760-1974, but email will be able to answer it within the business day. Do check us out online, shawspotlight.ca, as well as Shaw Spotlight across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And then check us out on YouTube. So our features, you can also see them on the website, but we're Shaw Spotlight on YouTube. And then our community stuff is on Shaw Community Link. And we'll get you the links and you can put them in the description on the YouTube version, Kathy.
Absolutely. So everybody, you got to check out the YouTube version. And when you do, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And share the wisdom of Shaw, because I got to tell you, they're incredible teachers, great people, and they produce some extraordinary information for everybody, not only on Vancouver Island, but nationwide. Thank you both so much for being part of our program today. I sure appreciate it. You have been listening to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM every week at 1 o'clock. Don't forget to tune in next week. See you then. Bye for now.